There are a lot of free-to-play shooters out there, okay? And there are plenty of just live service games in general. And we have seen some in the superhero genre not do too well. So when Marvel Rivals comes along, it's a third-person shooter. It's gonna have some of those live service elements. It's in that superhero gaming genre. People were justifiably skeptical. We had an alpha way back in May. We had a beta not too long after that. I got an early hands-on with the game when I was at Gamescom. I've had a lot of opportunities to play Marvel Rivals, but I've never got to experience the finished product. Now, though, the game is out. Everyone can jump in and play again. It's free to play, and everyone can experience all that this game has to offer. But is Marvel Rivals just another live service superhero game that is doomed to fail? Or is this going to break the mold? Could this be the next big hero shooter? We're gonna review Marvel Rivals. Make sure you hit that like button. I gotta start off with something that I have said about this game time and time again. The visuals are stunning. It's such a unique art style for these iconic characters, and it really pops. And that is most especially because it's running on Unreal Engine 5. It looks so good. Even when you have a base design that I don't really mesh with, something like Wolverine, for example, you can still appreciate the artistic intent. They're trying something new, something fresh, and that level of creativity is something that I can't help but applaud. Also, big shout outs to the devs for sourcing their comic book suits. You can see where each of them first appeared in the comic books. It's such a great way to bring in new readers. I do wish, though, that they went the extra mile and also credited the artists that created some of these comic-inspired looks. But hey, this is definitely a big step in the right direction, and I do hope that all comic book games moving forward follow in the footsteps of this, and similarly, the Guardians of the Galaxy game. On the topic of alternate suits, though, one big issue I do have is some of those recolors. I mean, some of them are just straight disrespecting the actual comic book suit that they're supposed to be based on. Anti-Venom? I mean, Chasm for Spider-Man? Come on. I know that these suits take time. I imagine it's not just you snap your finger and artist creates an alternate look to be in the game, but looks like Chasm or Anti-Venom, they really do deserve a full design rather than just a recolor. And if you're gonna go down the route of a recolor, with Anti-Venom, it's still not 100% accurate. I don't know. I know I'm being a bit of a well, actually. Overall, the visuals are great in this game, and a lot of the alternate suits are fantastic. It really is a nitpick, but it's not that minor of a nitpick, at least in my opinion. But beyond those character designs and how well the visuals are on that front, I should also talk about some of these stages. They are so well made. Whether you're traversing through the dark corridors of Klyntar, a symbiote planet, or finding your way through the shifting terrain of the Hydra base, you'll need to stop yourself several times to just appreciate the environment. So much effort was put into these locations to really immerse you in their corners of the Marvel world, even going so far as to have these amazing animations play when you load into a match or after a victory/defeat. Seeing Venom absorb Null's essence at the end of a match, it never gets old. Or even that intro with the Milano crashing onto Klyntar is so sick. While there's unfortunately no dedicated PvE mode, at least as of right now with the launch of Marvel Rivals, and obviously no story mode, little things like that really go a long way for someone like myself who's into the lore. And of course, a huge element to these stages is the destructible environments, adding a bit of madness to the method. This really complements the gameplay overall. Breaking a wall to reveal an enemy hiding behind it, or clearing a path to get to the payload really helps separate this game from other hero shooters that are out there. And while we're on the topic of gameplay, all of these characters play so well. No two characters are similar. They have found such an interesting way to incorporate these Marvel heroes or villains into a third-person shooter. There are some characters that fit like a glove. Punisher, Hawkeye, Black Widow, they all work within a third-person shooter very easily. But when you have these melee-based heroes like Spider-Man, Iron Fist, Black Panther, there's a bit of a challenge in designing those characters and making them work, and somehow the developers made it work. Marvel Rivals is offering nothing but variety straight from the get-go. But with that being said, okay, the healer archetype, or strategists as they're called in this game, they're lacking. Now, I'm not saying that they aren't fun to play as. Loki is awesome in this game. He's such a cool character. Jeff is adorable, and if any of you heard him, oh my, don't. But we definitely need more of them. You have the least amount of options for strategists, and that of course makes it so that most of the time someone is either going to go for the duelist or the vanguard pick. And with the most variety of options being in the duelist category, sometimes you end up in a lobby where it's like 5 people as DPS or duelist characters and just one person who's trying to heal you. Hell, even having 4 duelists and 2 strategists is just not good enough to be able to compete against some teams. You really do got gotta rock that 2-2-2 strategy. 2 tanks or vanguards as they're called in this game, 2 DPS or duelists as they're called in this game, and then 2 healers or strategists. And with there being so many different options for vanguards and a ton of different options for duelists, it means that strategists are the ones that people are least likely to pick. So while there is a loaded 33 characters in the base roster, it is unfortunate that the least of them are the ones that play your support role. But back into some of the positives, I mentioned a little bit earlier, I want to reiterate once again how much I love how these characters feel so true to their comic book roots. Wolverine is this feral animal hacking and slashing his opponents, jumping around like a madman. And he also has a resilience unlike any of the other duelists on the roster. Then you have characters like Spider-Man, who are so agile, they can dive your backline and destroy them and zip out of there in like 2 seconds. The list really does go on, and it's so cool too that they have a lot of these heavy hitter Marvel characters like a Spider-Man, a Black Panther, Iron Man, the Hulk, but they also have some lesser known characters like Squirrel Girl or Jeff. At the end of the day, all of these Marvel heroes were C-listers before they inevitably got that mainstream push. Who knew that much about Iron Man before Robert Downey Jr.? And so it's great that Marvel Rivals isn't a Marvel game that's going just straight for all of the mainstream stuff. They want to try some new things, bring in some characters that you might not have heard of before. And well, for the most part, with all 33 characters in here, it does feel balanced. There are some other characters on the roster that feel quite strong and need some tuning. But this is what happens with any multiplayer game. You're not going to launch a game with this many characters in it and it's going to be 100% perfectly balanced as all things should be. So I can give them a bit of a pass so long as the patches roll through at a steady pace and we're not waiting like months before a character that is broken gets a nerf. And yes, I am absolutely looking right at you, Spider-Man mains. And oh my god, the music, it rips. I just sit there at the menu sometimes just humming that theme for a couple of minutes before I actually jump in to play some games. I do believe as of when this review goes out that the full soundtrack should be out there, and my goodness, again, the soundtrack is phenomenal. It's all about that main theme. And the last thing that I wanted to touch on here for Marvel Rivals is the monetization. This is obviously going to be a big topic of conversation around this game. It is free to play, and they are indeed selling microtransactions that you can purchase to get suits. I will say in terms of pricing, from what I am looking through, everything seems pretty standard from what you'd get out of a free-to-play live service game that is selling costumes. There will just never be a world where a game of this kind is going to be selling skins for like $2. The main difference here being, again, outside of maybe something like Wolverine, a lot of those base designs look really good. So it isn't one of those cases where games make a base design for something terrible to entice the player to want to spend the money. There are a lot of games that I have played, shooters specifically, that do that very often, and it is extremely obvious what they're trying to do. At least with Marvel Rivals, it's like, nah, man, Hawkeye looks sick. If you want to make him look even cooler, or if you want to have a comic-inspired suit, you can fork over the money. But if you're like me and you already like that base design, jump in, happy hunting. There is also a battle pass. I believe the Season 0 battle pass is coming at a discount compared to what they're normally going to be selling the battle pass for. So right now it is $5, but I think when Season 1 starts, it's going to be $10. But I think the main conversation piece around the battle pass in this game and the way that they're handling battle passes in the future is that they follow a consumer-friendly model. Once you purchase the battle pass, it is unlocked forever. There's not going to be any FOMO. You do not need to worry about after 60 days when the next season starts or whatever, you're going to lose out on those skins. No, you have the battle pass. You can go at your own pace. We have seen a lot of games, and specifically superhero games, adopt this model, which I do appreciate. Yes, live services sometimes can be a bit predatory, but this is a great new trend. Overall, Marvel Rivals is a blast. If you're a fan of the hero shooter genre, it's for you. If you're a fan of Marvel, it's for you. If you like both, this game might feel like it was constructed by the Allfather himself. There are some balancing issues and a performance hitch here or there, but it is otherwise a really smooth experience and another notch on Marvel Games' belt. I'm gonna give Marvel Rivals an 8.5 out of 10. And that's my review for Marvel Rivals. It's free to play, so please jump in, get some games in, and then let me know what your thoughts are on the game in the comment section below. I might be planning to do some YouTube live streams actually for Marvel Rivals, and maybe I can get some games in with some of you guys. So if that's something you'd be interested in, please also let me know in the comments. And with that being said, I've been Caboose, and I'll see you guys later.